Hello, guys. Welcome to the next ATP Weekly. We're going to talk about Shanghai basically because I think the last one, which was with Tom, came on the. Which round of Shanghai was that? Maybe it was like after the
Um,
second round or something like that. So
yeah,
basically, we have the whole Shanghai tournament to cover. Mario is here. Hello, Mario.
hi.
How are you today? And yeah, what are your sort of general feelings after Shanghai?
Yeah, first of all, thanks. I'm quite okay. Well, about Shanghai, I have to say that um, everyone at some point of the tournament was talking about a lot of, let's say, ranking wise kind of surprises, even if in the end we got a final with two players who had already previously won a Masters title. Both were fighting for the second one. But there's been a lot of fight in a lot of the matches, even in the final stages, round four. I remember a lot of very tight battles, and the final itself with that in deciding set tiebreak. And overall, I would say also a good level of tennis yesterday. So I have enjoyed the tournament. Probably, I don't know, before the tournament I was not probably expecting this champion, even if Hurkacz was playing good tennis lately, because he was in the semis in Cincinnati, probably had a little bit of a setback in at the US Open, where everyone was kind of expecting him to have a solid result, given also the draw he got. But then a good version of Jack Draper won that second round. But overall, he played a very, very good week. Also, a draw that hasn't been that tough probably till the final. But at the same time, he faced a lot of dangerous players also along his road, because talking about Zhang, he was playing super, super well at home, but also Maroshan was not so easy like some people can think, also thinking about some big wins he had in the tournament and also in general. So I would say that in the end we have seen a high level tournament, in my opinion, and I enjoyed it. John was asking me about Greece. It was very fine.
Did you meet Maria Sakkari or Stefanos Tsitsipas or
No.
Valentini
Tsitsipas was in
Grammatikopoulou or
Shanghai.
okay.
I haven't met anyone important. No.
Okay. Yeah, speaking of Hurkacz, I actually never really realized how much of a regular he is at these stages. I
Mhm.
remember writing up a tweet earlier this year, earlier this week, when I said something like Hurkacz is more or less a regular at these stages of ATP 1000 events, big tournaments. And then I sort of realized, okay, that's not right. He is actually a regular at these stages, not more or less. I have to drop the more or less because it just kind of underestimates him. The guy has by now he has reached the at least the quarterfinals at 8 of the 9 Masters 1000 events. The only one that he hasn't been so deep at is actually Rome. And I think with every single run like this, Shanghai, obviously he also won Miami and made the finals in Canada, so all of them on hard courts.
Yeah.
With every run like this, it sort of becomes even more clear that his Grand Slam record is just a huge stain on his resume. Like the fact that the guy has only been past the second round at a hardcourt slam once is definitely something that like just stands out from what he has achieved so far, and stands out in a negative way. Of course, you mentioned that second round loss to Draper at the US Open. Everyone is expecting more. He was sick on the day, which explains
Yeah.
it. But on the other hand, as a whole, it just paints a picture of Hurkacz playing the main draw of 11 hardcourt slams and only getting past the second round twice. And if you're someone who, in the past 3 years, has been reaching at least one ATP 1000 final on hard courts, even though it's not best of five, you would still expect a lot more. So that's maybe sort of the negative takeaway from Hurkacz's title. No, there's no negative takeaway. It just sort of becomes even more clear that he has to, that he has to start winning more at the hardcourt slams, given his level of performance here. And yeah, as you said, I also think that the route, even though maybe it's not what we are used to in general, the guys like Maroshan, Zhang, Kokinakis in the second round as well.
Mhm.
Kokinakis, who had 5 match points against him in Miami and also pushed him to a deciding set tiebreak in Cincinnati. That was actually a very tough path to the final. Korda as well. Maybe he didn't play his best on the day in the semis, but that's an opponent that we will be expecting in the top 20 and higher very soon. So I don't think it was a weak title or anything, and maybe somewhat deserved, right? Because recently, since Wimbledon, he had like 3 big match losses to Djokovic and Alcaraz, basically, and all of these were super tight. He actually pushed them. I mean, both Djokovic at Wimbledon and also Alcaraz then twice at the Canada Cincy double. So in a way, it was kind of out there waiting for him, I guess. And yeah, what do you think about in general, like about Hurkacz's form since Wimbledon? Has
No,
he
yeah,
been like
talking
one of the best players in the world? Top 8
uh,
tennis. Is that true?
yeah, talking about the tight matches you were talking about,
Mm-hmm.
especially the Cincinnati one,
Yeah.
because it was a semi and he was actually really, really close to win that one. Not just up in the score, but really, really close. I think he also had match point, if I'm not wrong, but he still was really, really close. And so, probably we could have talked about an even bigger thing, because yeah, Djokovic in the final, but even winning that match, reaching another final, basically he is very regular in this stage at tournaments of this level, 1000, and especially on hardcourts, he also has that peak level to have his chances and to get troubles to a lot of higher ranked player. Also semis, for example, in Miami after winning the title in 2021, he actually got there and reached the semi. So he also had a lot of pretty solid results, a deciding set tiebreak in Paris semi-final against Djokovic in 2021. So yeah, talking about post Wimbledon, and I will actually consider Wimbledon because he played a really good match against Djokovic. In that was a round 4. So a solid result in itself, and also playing very well in the round of 16. I have to say yes, that he is probably one of the best 8 players giving this run so far. But in fact, we are seeing this also in the ATP race, where at some point it seemed like having no real chances this year, and suddenly he's 11th. But I would say that with good chances, because also considering, for example, Zverev is out already this week in Tokyo. Rune is playing a 250 event and is not in the best form right now. So basically, the fight is really open. And after, let's say, a shaky first half of the year, he has really taken us a step up. His level was really good this let's say week, 10 days, and both from the tennis point of view and also mentally. And that has really made the difference in making him play well match after match for this long master event. So, well, I would say that at this point, I won't be surprised if he manages to starting getting closer and closer. We should also, think about the consistency, probably consistency week after week after week has not been one of the biggest things about him. But at the same point, yes, he has actually, I would say, especially best of three, since the all the things we were talking about the slams, a very very high peak level. Also serving that way helps a lot, and probably I don't know if this can be the reason why he's been more affecting of best on three than best of five. Probably the serve can make even a bigger difference when the match is doesn't last that long. Probably as you went fourth, fifth set, the serve can I don't know, at times you can be fatigued a little bit, or also the long match mentally can impact you. I don't know, but probably this can be one of the reasons why he's been way more effective at masters level than slams. I don't know. Also, probably also the fact that in slams, no, I wouldn't say that. I was thinking about slams being, more field of, for example, Djokovic and all this stuff, but basically losing second, third round, this doesn't make sense. So yeah, this is the only explanation I can give right now.
Yeah, I mean, with time, the serve can also be read a bit easier. So maybe there's something there, possibly. Yeah, the ATP race definitely opens up for him, and you're kind of right that in the first half of the year it was just mediocre for him, and this is the sort of result that just changes the whole perspective of your season, because suddenly we're talking about a really good year for Hubert Hurkacz, even though
Yeah,
before Shanghai we'd be saying it's just average, bang on average. It's fine. It's nothing special. Whereas right now we're just okay. Well, 2023 was good. Yeah, he almost made the ATP finals, or maybe he made the ATP finals. Who knows? We'll
yeah,
see.
yeah,
Yeah, 335 points away from Rune, but as you said, he's playing at 250. He is generally not too healthy recently. Zverev is out, but Zverev is probably going to be safe, I would assume. There's Taylor Fritz, Casper Ruud, neither of them really at their best at the moment. Still, 335 points to Rune. Like, you actually have to earn these points, which isn't
yeah,
that easy. Still, there are 2,000 up for grabs for Hurkacz, Tokyo, Basel, and Paris. But earning 300 isn't that easy. Obviously, it's just one 300, let's say 500 final, and then change. But at the same time, you also have to do better than all of these guys, Fritz, Ruth, Rune. So basically, there where I see it, I'm not really putting any pressure on it. If he makes it, fine. He definitely has a shot, but it's not going to be easy. He also plays Jiren Zhang again in the first round in
yeah.
Tokyo, which
Right.
just smells like such a trap in the opening round. 100%. They've just had a fantastic match in Shanghai. Probably the toughest moment of the week, I guess, was the deciding set tiebreak against Rublev, but otherwise also against Zhang. The moment also when Hurkacz was like the most frustrated the whole week, throwing his racket around and talking to his coach like constantly. So I do wonder how this match is going to look in Tokyo, because it just seems like a very tight affair that I
Mhm.
have zero confidence that Hurkacz is going to pull through it. And yeah, regarding just maybe more regarding his
Yeah,
week.
let's say talking just about the race,
Uh-huh.
just one little moment. I would say
Yeah, go
that
ahead.
even if not playing at his best lately, but a big chance is for Taylor Fritz, because he has on his racket the chance to overcome Rune. If he wins Tokyo, he will be number 8, regardless of Rune's result in Stockholm. So even if
But he
not
plays
playing
Cam
that.
Norrie in the first
Yeah,
set.
no, of course, but he has the things on his rackets. Even if the draw is pretty stacked there, because of all these players fighting for the spot in Turin being there. So yeah, Cameron Norrie not seeded at this tournament is. Yeah, still Norrie has dropped a bit in the ranking, not playing very, very good lately, but still means that the tournament is a very high level one.
And in fact, Hurkacz is also not seeded at this event, so
Yeah, right.
that kind of tells you all. And then yeah, even if he beats Zhang, he's gonna play Tiafoe Karatsev in the second round. So
Yeah, right.
that's the quality that we're talking about. And yeah, just maybe speaking a little bit more on his run. The serve we sort of always don't really talk about it because it's obvious that it's gonna be good. But this week it was actually just ridiculous every time. Like the ace rate just fluctuated between 17 and 24%, which means that more or less he was every 5 service points he was getting an ace. Lots of unreturned serves as well, of course. And off the ground, he was actually playing some very solid tennis, often attacking with the forehand. Pretty easily shifting from inside out to inside in, things that he usually has issues with. He was managing to do that. He was managing to defend quite well as well. And yeah, let's just maybe talk about the final for a little moment. Honestly, from the start of set two, it seemed like Rublev is the much better player. Like he just has this high percentage, high margin of error offense, right? He just sort of spreads the court well. He doesn't risk all that much when dictating, and against Hurkacz, that's really good because well, he is a decent mover for his height for sure,
Mm.
and he is good on the defense. But generally, it's still not the most efficient movement athleticism you can see on the tour. And
Yeah,
so,
even
so
if I would
Rublev,
say that his defense is annoying, I would call that,
yeah,
because when he reaches those ball and slices that ball, he can be really annoying as a defense for
yeah,
what I see.
that 40 shot rally against Maroshan, right, where he hits like the forehand squash shot like 4 times.
Yeah.
Obviously, eventually it's Fabi hitting the volley into the net and a very simple put away, but still, yeah, that's probably the best example. And yeah, he just sort of held on despite that, right? He held on in the third set. Actually, was the first one to cause issues at 5-4. Rublev had to save a match point. Eventually, Hurkacz had to save a match point, but that stretch from 2-5 down in the tiebreaker was another very good patch, right, from the Pole. And also he actually ended up being stronger mentally than Rublev in these most important moments.
Yeah, let's say that I think that the moment of the match
Hmm.
that really made the difference in the end, because it's been the beginning of the third set, because there I felt like Rublev was playing much better, was on the
Yeah.
verge of breaking, and probably yeah, he actually had a break point, but also some 30-all situations went to use another time. And Hurkacz still being there and holding those first service games, then put him in the conditions to put up the fight in the end of the set. And so you were mentioning the match point in the 10th game, which Rublev saved with an ace, so basically no real chance, but still, 1 point away from winning even before the tiebreak. And then, yes, the tiebreak started with Rublev going up in the score, but still, those two holds that he had from 5-2 down, 5-4, probably other two, very important point, those two, because then, of course, Rublev played. Lost one of the two following points on serve, and then the fight 1 point from another. Hurkacz was serving better in the final stretch of the tiebreak, even if overall Rublev served very good too throughout the match. And yeah, then he's also been resilient in those last points, even when Rublev was serving, trying to stay in the rally. And in the end it paid. But those games at the beginning of the set, when Rublev was feeling like the better player, really on the verge of breaking, that moment have really changed a little bit what could have been an easier third set for the Russian.
Yeah, I do agree with that, definitely. Until like middle of set three, from the beginning of second set two, Rublev was very close to breaking a lot of the time. Well, maybe not to breaking, but to like creating break points. He was serving much better, returning much better, but yeah, then Hurkacz got the reward for holding on and eventually managed to take it in the tiebreak. Maybe one more thing about Hurkacz is that he's now 7-1 in ATP Tour
Mm.
finals. That sort of stat is probably somewhat surprising, right? I mean, 4 of these are 250s. And generally speaking, the quality of the opposition he's faced has been like, it's been good, but not Alcaraz Djokovic sort of like.
No,
whereas
yeah, that's right.
but he
Even for
has played
example,
Medvedev, right? Carreño Busta, Rublev, yeah,
yeah, no, it's right. Still solid opponents.
yeah.
Sinner wasn't the 2023 Sinner, so probably but still he's done really good in those finals. Also won the first set in the final he lost against Carreño Busta, but even that one in Canada, I felt like he played well. Carreño Busta played an amazing match that day. Basically, yeah, he knows how to do in these circumstances. I don't know if as his career goes on, he still will be that effective in finals. But as a start, I think that he is not able to complain on that one.
Yeah, with more sample size, we can expect it to lower, but I mean to just go down. But still, that's still an excellent record, and maybe he hasn't played like the top of the top, but as you said, he played Medvedev, he played Sinner, he played Rublev. What else do you really want? 7-1 is definitely impressive, regardless of that. Yeah, let's maybe talk about Andrei Rublev. There was actually a stream earlier this week where I said that the only boring result of Shanghai, and that was at a point where I think 5 or 6 players were left in the event. I said that the only boring result of Shanghai would be for Andrei Rublev to win the title. And I know in a way it wouldn't be, because he only got his first ATP 1000, his first big title this year, and also that would be the second one. If you miss Pablo Carreño Busta, by the way, Jane, I mean, he is playing, sort of. He did appear in 2 challengers just the past couple of weeks. One of them he lost to Cazor, one of them he lost to Martinez, so still lacking a win, but, he is back. He is playing. He is healthy. He's going to be in Vienna and Paris as well. So you can definitely watch him in a week. I don't think he's playing on this particular week, though. Anyway, what was I talking about? Yeah, Andrei Rublev. I said that this was going to be like the only boring thing, because I feel like if Andrei Rublev won this, we wouldn't really have learned anything. There wouldn't be a huge story, and it's a shame that I feel this way. But Andrei Rublev has demonstrated on many occasions that if he can, like if the draw opens up a little bit, he is very capable of taking these opportunities. Almost did, of course, and you could sort of maybe question whether Rublev or whether getting Hurkacz in the final is the draw opening up or not. But it also makes me kind of wonder, because it seems like Sinner, Rune, Alcaraz, they still aren't at that level where they're going to be competing for these titles and like sort of taking them every single time. Djokovic's scheduling is going to be, well, let's say, not more frequent than this year from now onwards, probably. Also, Medvedev, I mean, he has his weaker patches issues too. So I wonder if like the next 2 years or so aren't going to be the perfect opportunity for Rublev to keep picking up these bigger titles, even. Because yeah, it just seems like the younger generation is not quite there yet, and this might be a real opening for him, a real window.
Yeah, especially when you're talking about winning titles week in, week out. For example, we've seen with even with Alcaraz sometimes from Madrid to Rome, but for
Yeah.
example, Sinner in China after Beijing from Shanghai. So yeah, you're absolutely right on that. Well, I still would say that this year, Rublev, I feel that he has taken a little step forward comparing from the past seasons. He lost this one, but in my opinion, among the 4 Masters finals he played, this one was the best performance quality-wise. among the four, because I don't remember an incredible performance in Monte Carlo this year. It was more of a tension and physical stuff to make the difference in the end. While this time I don't have really the feeling that he, even if we see some breakdowns or something like that, but I still wouldn't feel this time that he didn't manage the emotions well in terms of how they impacted him, of the level of play. I think that he this time he played a good level final against a Hurkacz who had a great performance, I would say. Yeah, probably 1 point could have in that tiebreak could have been handled better. He did a backhand mistake, but overall, I think that he played a good match overall. And what I know about him is that he's not an up and down player in terms of the results. Yeah, he has some losses. For example, the Canada Cincinnati stretch was not good for him. But overall, if you consider a big picture of 3-4 months, he basically always able to use some of the chances he gets. Was 1 point away from winning 2 Masters title in the same season. So he definitely is able to to be there when the draw opens up a little bit. And so that's why I think that he also has his chances to get a second one. I don't know when, but I think that right now we can have a chance as for the tennis world is. And I still think that his great surface and condition versatility can help him a lot using these chances, because seems like surface is slow, fast condition doesn't really matter for him in being able to go deep at tournaments, even if I still think that on clay he has something more, probably also because the on hard there is much more competition among these top 10-15 players. But yeah, overall I think that for how things stands right now, he has his chance to get the second one.
Yeah, I actually think so too. I also wish we get the Alcaraz Rublev match, which we haven't seen yet, right? But yeah, I maybe sort of agree that on clay, I would say he has maybe greater consistency. But if he is actually going to play a match against one of the top guys, I maybe like his chances on hard more. But yeah, that versatility of his that you mentioned, like of the big events, maybe Wimbledon is the only one where we're like, okay, not really treating him as a contender to win the whole thing. And otherwise he's always there. He's always, as Jane says, also he plays every week virtually, so he is always there to to capitalize on opportunities. He does it well. And I actually think that with the way the tennis landscape looks right now, it is going to be quite possible for him to be just have a shot at claiming two more big titles soon, because it just seems like the young guys aren't as consistent yet, and like Djokovic isn't going to be playing more, for example, right? He's still going to skip a fair amount of big tournaments. So and of
Yeah,
course he's
basically
also
I
going to
was
get
checking, and
worse. Uh-huh.
I know that the vaccination thing impacted this number a lot, but he played 3 hardcourt masters in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
2 of them being Paris 2021 and 2022.
Yeah, obviously not being allowed to play the Sunshine Double, as you
Yeah,
said,
of course.
impacts it. Also Canada Cincy, right? But like he is going to play maybe a little bit more due to that, but yeah, he's still gonna skip a significant amount of events. I was also John says that I should unilaterally choose a Jakub Bobro player of the week. Honestly, it's very tough because all of the challenger winners from last week I think could easily do.
Yeah.
But by the power vested in me by the state of John Silk, I will actually go for Gabriel Diallo, I think, just because he won the most important event for Jakub. So the Bratislava Challenger.
Mm.
That was the event where Jakub was a ball boy as a kid. Then he also visited it a lot of times as a fan, as a press member. That was also the event where I met him in 2022. So I know this was a very like this was his home. You know, this was his home event. That was the one tournament that excited him the most during the calendar year. So I think we kind of have to go for that.
Mhm.
Gabriel Diallo, the former college player who stopped went pro last year, of course, and sort of put himself in such a good position in the second half of 2022, then didn't really follow it up. But he had an excellent performance at Davis Cup
Yeah.
last month. Now he also finds a challenger title, his second one after last year, which I think he won in Granby over Yuncheng Shang back then. And now he also gets it in Bratislava, huge event, Challenger 125, very tough road to the title. You've got Dominic Thiem in the second round, you've got Lucas Klein in the quarters, you've got someone I'm forgetting right now in the semis, and Joris Delor in the final. Who was it in the semis? Jesus, Delor beat Nardi and Diallo beat Martin Dam,
Um,
so maybe a little
yeah.
easier there. But obviously, yeah, beating Team was huge, even though maybe the match was honestly not that good quality. But the final performance from Diallo was very mature as well. Maybe this is a sign that he's getting the experience. He's getting yeah, he's making use of all the things he has picked up on the tour. And I know Jakub would have enjoyed it too, because last year we did get the chance, of course, to follow Diallo's rise, and yeah, how he won Granby, which was a huge surprise. Then followed it up with a final in Fairfield as well, losing to Mike Moe. So I think that's what I'm gonna choose here. Even though, yeah, any challenger winner could do literally. And yeah, regarding Rublev, what was he supposed to talk about? Oh, I saw an interesting tweet from one of
Mhm.
our Talking Tennis members, Srihari, who said that, well, Daniel Medvedev has 20 titles and has never defended one, and Andrei Rublev has 14,
Ah,
and he also has never defended one, and yet no one talks about it. And I think it's just, a difference of expectations. The fact
yeah,
that,
exactly.
yeah,
Because, for
Medvedev has
example,
more, right?
yeah,
And
about Medvedev is also that you think that he can be able to defend also a big title, or not
yeah,
defend, but win it a second time. For example, a second
yeah,
Cincinnati title,
yeah, that's
a
how I meant
second
it. Yeah,
title in
that's how I meant it. Yeah.
Shanghai. And so I think that that's why there's more talk about Medvedev than Rublev, because if Rublev wins Shanghai this year, I don't know if he wins it a second time, even if I have a lot of esteem. But as for Medvedev, I think that it's a different stuff. You would expect him to win, a second one, a second time, at least one of the hardcourt, let's say Masters or even 500 events.
Yeah, and I actually think that Srihari should be happy that people are treating Medvedev and Rublev like that, because he is a Daniil fan, and that only tells you that people hold him in a
Yeah,
higher sort
that's
of
right.
category, that people simply expect more from Medvedev. People care more about whether
Yeah.
he wins a title for the second time or not. So for yeah, I think for me, if I was a Medvedev fan, that would actually be a positive thing, that people are treating him like this.
Yeah, at
And
least considering that he won once in Miami, once in Shanghai, once in Cincinnati, once in Canada, once Paris. He won the ATP final, so he won almost all the big events on hardcourt, the US Open, and you would expect that sooner or later a second title on one of these tournaments can come. Let's see.
Sean is asking if there's any link between Medvedev complaining about the court and how he
I
does in
don't
the
know.
tournament. Probably not, honestly. Like, he complains about every court, it seems, recently. But Indian Wells, he was obviously very angry about that and saying that it's not hard court. He makes the final, right? He gets outplayed by Carlos terribly, but yeah, he still makes the final. Rome, obviously, in the past he was complaining about that court a lot. I don't know if this year, but he wins the title there. So probably no, I wouldn't say so. Although he did have some things to say, of course, about Shanghai, and that's an event he won in 2019. So he didn't feel like it was playing similarly this year. Probably more the balls than the court, but yeah, he did. He didn't end up, of course, going deep. Ended up losing to Korda, who has been a troubling matchup for him. How is Karen Kachanov doing? I didn't get to see any of his matches. Well, after the title that he won in what was it, Zhuhai or Chengdu? Zhuhai, right?
July,
He
yes.
played a couple of more events, lost to Dimitrov in Shanghai third round, and you can actually watch him tomorrow against Alexei Popyrin in Tokyo. Although I wonder if with your time zone it's gonna be reasonable. Maybe actually, maybe it's early enough that you can still catch it before going to bed. Maybe. I suppose Asia might be tough for you, but we'll see. And yeah, Andrei Rublev. Anything else left on him or?
No, I would say that right now, I think that considering all the results in the big events, I would say that the five guys who I would think that kind of deserve to be in the top five right now is, as the ranking says.
Yeah, Zverev sort of lost his right to be there with losing to Safiullin and Thompson 2 events in a row. I know Safiullin had a peak performance. I actually didn't get to see
Oh,
the
yeah, that's
match
for
against
sure.
Thompson, but yeah, he kind of lost his right to be called a top 5 player. I think with his last 2 losses. But yeah, also maybe one more thing about Rublev is that of course this is now his this was his fourth ATP 1000 final. He now has a 1-3
Mm.
record, losing to Zverev, Tsitsipas, and Hurkacz. And also, if he won the title, he would have qualified for the ATP finals. But he's gonna be there anyway.
Yeah.
Like it would be
No.
an extremely rough statistical
Yes,
combination,
exactly.
yeah, in order to keep him out. Yeah, so let's chat about some other players in Shanghai. Of course, the finalists weren't the only one. Weren't the only ones. Grigor Dimitrov made the semis, and he actually finally got a huge win, right? Because earlier this year we were
Yeah.
talking about him being very consistent, winning almost all his opening rounds, but he was always losing to Alcaraz, Zverev, Sinner, Medvedev, Djokovic. I think a combined 0 and 11 against them. So
Mhm.
actually, out of like 18 losses this year, I think for Dimitrov, 11 of them have come against these players. You can probably add Rublev to that group as well, honestly, because like why not? He, as we just stated, he is pretty much up there with like the 5-6 best players in the world. So yeah, out of 19, I think, losses this year, Dimitrov has lost 12 times to all the guys who are ranked, well, let's say in the top 6 in the ATP race,
Yes.
right? So that's pretty crazy. And yeah, what did you think of Dimitrov's run, and also how he finally got
No,
over
yes.
the line with
I
Alcaraz?
I would still say the same, that for me the only thing that lacks is a title at any level
Yeah,
this season. Of course, we are talking about a very, let's say, good and consistent season because he's producing good results. Finally got a big win over Alcaraz, also after being set down. So playing good tennis. Alcaraz didn't play really good, but he still unlocked kind of an achievement that this year needed to produce. At this point of the season, he never had so many top 10 wins. Only in 2017 ended up with more wins, but 5 of them were during the ATP finals. I still would say that he needs to get this title. It's too much. ATP Finals 2017, this last title, for the way he plays, for also the fact that he is a threat because this win against Alcaraz, but against all these players also ranked 6, 7, 8, 12. He is a threat for them. Managed to beat him quite consistently this year, because if we exclude this win over Alcaraz, he has other 4 top 10 wins over Tiafo when he was 10. But so let's say all these, let's say tier 2 players. yeah, he has been back in a final this year. He was in Geneva, lost to Jarry. But overall, I would say that very good season. Nice to see him playing this well. But for me, he needs this title to make this season worthy of being compared to one of his best seasons, because the consistency of the results is there, up with his best seasons on tour. But when you are going to compare, then you have some titles to rely on. Let's not talk about 2017, because probably it's not in contention, because when you win a master, when you win the ATP final, but even, for example, season like 2014, I think that a title needs to be won by him.
Yeah, I do feel like he's been playing better than his results suggest. The fact that he's like 16th in the ATP race, you've got guys like Ruud, Paul, Deminor, Kachanov, Tiafoe ahead of him. Like, I think he could literally be higher up than most of them in the rankings for me. But the fact is, he hasn't gotten these runs. He hasn't gotten these results. You could probably say that it's due to drawing Zverev, Sinner, Alcaraz, Djokovic, Medvedev early. Yes, a lot of the time it is. But yeah, it's good for him that he finally got the win. Also followed it up by beating Jari. I think it's
Mm.
nice that he didn't actually lose in the first match after beating Alcaraz. But yeah, certainly there were a few moments in the Rublev semifinal that he will be regretting, and this felt like a big opportunity for Dimitrov as well. In fact, if we got a final like Dimitrov Hurkacz, like both guys would be in a very similar boat in terms of if they win the title, they actually start having chances at reaching the ATP finals. Which before Shanghai was not really a possibility, didn't seem like a possibility for either, basically. Yeah, and also we had the two Americans in who went very deep in Shelton and Korda. I feel like maybe you could even talk about them at the same time. Basically, they had this ridiculous quarterfinal between each other. Korda very strong 3 weeks, maybe with some regrets against Hurkacz in how tense he was, and closing out matches still an issue for him. It was in the Astana final. It was against Cerundolo. It was against Shelton as well. And Shelton finally, his season is not just about 2 events, it's now about 3 events.
No, but starting with Shelton, I think that it's important to judge a season, because yeah, having good runs at slams just speaks for itself, but also having followed up the US Open result with a good run in Shanghai, yeah, feels important to start talking about some kind of consistently in the past weeks, in terms of the results got. Some very good wins, especially the win against Sinner. And about that win, I like the fact that he basically was outplayed in the first set, but still he probably Sinner helped him a little bit at the beginning of the second set, but he has been able to stay there in the toughest moment of the match, and being able to win the necessary games in order to start the fight. Point by point against Yannick, and then he came up winning, and that was a very important one. Also because it was also by far, let's say, the biggest win in terms of ranking. There's also Ruud number 5 in Cincinnati 2022, but I consider this one way more important. Yeah, so just let's say something that consolidates my judge about him, that with the weapon he has on his game, he is going to be able to stay there. I don't know how I still don't have a clear idea about how up, I would say, but we are talking about a top 20 right now, and the top 20 suits him for the weapons he has, and even a little more. As for Korda, the season is difficult to judge because he got injured in the moment of the biggest form for him in Australia during the quarterfinal. And this probably, no, without probably, this had a huge impact in his season, in my opinion. Especially, for example, the Sunshine Double could have been a good stretch of the year for him also. So yeah, it's difficult to judge his season overall, but this Master semi-final finally achieved is important, of course, to put him up there again, now close to a top 20 that seems like also feels like weird that he never he has never been there, for the way we have judged his tennis, because his tennis is crazy good, very solid weeks. So yeah, I would say that these two guys gave another proof or what they are able to do. Still, probably we want to learn a little more, probably, but it's a certification of their very good value.
Yeah, and I think Korda, especially in a year where he has been injured for 3 months, then had weak performances at the last three slams, the fact that he's still sort of out there and maybe potentially could still break the top 20, um, that's actually probably the best example of the fact that he will be positioned very well for 2024. There is going to be that, of course, in January, he defends a lot of points. 150 in Adelaide and also 360 at the Australian Open. But after that, after these drop, basically nothing until Queens.
Mhm.
So yeah, a healthy Korda in 2024 could easily make that sort of improvement that we pictured for him after
Yeah.
January this year. And Shelton, I think he was perhaps even more impressive because we're still learning a bit more about him. This is actually just the fourth time he won consecutive matches this year after the US Open, Australian Open, and the Challenger in Cagliari. So that's quite wild. But as we sort of stated also at the US Open, this really takes the pressure off of him at the Australian Open. The fact that he got more points, in New York and also now in Shanghai, another nice gain. That's not gonna there was a point this year, and actually it was most of the season, where it seemed like at the Australian Open Ben Shelton might even be fighting, I mean at the Australian Open 2024, might even be fighting to stay in the top 100 or something around
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
And right now it's not really a thing anymore. He's still gonna be high up in the rankings, which is great because he's gonna be able to get there pressure free, get a seeding as well, get a pretty high seeding. So yeah, I think both of them are really well positioned. And honestly, if they are the top two Americans ranked at the end of 2024, I wouldn't be shocked. Taylor Fritz,
Yeah.
it would
I
require
I
a lot
usually
of
consider
consistency. Yeah,
I usually consider the top 24 seeds the important cut for the slams,
because you're
because you
not
avoid the
playing
top eight seeds. Top eight
until the
seeds
fourth
you
round.
avoid round three with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, until the fourth round. So I usually consider that cut as probably even more important than the 16, 15, because
Yeah.
for me it basically doesn't change that much. Yeah, as I said for Dimitrov, now for them it's time to win some title. but overall they certified a very good level of tennis. Yeah.
Yeah, Ben still hasn't made the final at the ATP level. Of course, he has sort of done better with the slam runs, but yeah, he still hasn't made the final. And Korda obviously has one, but yeah, his final record recently hasn't been excellent, and that's perhaps partially due to his mental struggles as well, which certainly are still a thing. Any other players from Shanghai? Fabian Maroshan making the quarters. That was obviously a huge story. I think during the most recent ATP Weekly, Me and Tom were discussing the possibility of him playing Casper Ruud in the fourth round.
Mm.
So that was after his third win. So since then we only got that win over Ruud and the match against Hurkacz, but that was pretty insane as well, right? The week that he had, and especially on hard courts where he doesn't have all that much experience even.
Yeah, but he proved that he has those ridiculous ground strokes that can be amazing for all the courts.
Yeah.
So yeah, and usually the hard court is a surface that in which these ground strokes usually pay. So yeah, no real reason to really doubt his
Yeah.
ability to play well on these courts. And I also, of course, liked a lot the whole Zhang story with the Chinese the tournament in China with the Chinese fans in Shanghai. I really like that. Also those wins he got. For example, the match against Echeverry was also a nice moment of the tournament with for all that meant for the hometown story. So I guess that run was also nice to watch, and also the match against Hurkacz also, which was the match that closed the run, was also pretty tight, and so he went off the court with a good impression. Yeah, I would say that in total honesty, I kind of had fun during this tournament because there has been a lot of a lot of good stuff, and also fight round by round. A lot of anticipated matches didn't disappoint. Talking about Korda Shelton, but also Shelton against Sinner, the final itself. So basically, my judgment over Shanghai is very good. Also because for me, we don't end up with number one seed against number two seed in the final for for having me judging positively an event. So I'm pretty much satisfied with what I saw, and I actually closed this tournament with the thought that the tour is in a good state right now. As for the things I saw, talking about how deep is the field, how many players can do well. And yeah, usually we kind of had this perspective on clay lately, but we're starting to get a very good perspective on this even on hardcourt with these players, this ranking 20, 30, 40, this tier of players. So I'm really satisfied with what Shanghai told me.
Yeah, definitely a pretty fresh lineup compared to some of the other ATP thousands or big events that we've had. Yeah, just maybe to touch on Maroshan and Zhang. Indeed, there's no reason why Maroshan shouldn't be doing well in such conditions. I mean, the serve maybe, but over the first four matches, he was serving extremely well. Probably some of the best serving I've seen from him in terms of getting unreturned serves, aces, not just setting up the first forehand after the serve, which is more what on clay it probably what the aim is more more like on clay. The drop shot, he cannot really use it as effectively, but he is a magician. He will still turn it up a few times. Generally, I've had this feeling recently that the players that I most like watching are just the ones that sort of play in a way that wouldn't be possible for any other player. So the players that sort of make you go, oh wow, every single 5 minutes. And that could be, Adrian Manarino, for example. Like he's playing a way that no one would ever be any good at, but no one else. But at the same time, you can go for some ridiculous shot makers like Maroshan, Vatanuki. Just guys who basically are so unique because anyone else trying to play like that, trying to play this aggressively, take the ball this early, would simply fail. And it was super fun, of course, watching Maroshan. Maybe the serve didn't really hold up against Hurkacz. Hurkacz was in so many return games. It was
Yeah.
also almost like not watching Hurkacz Basically every single Maroccan game he was in trouble, and that's quite surprising for the Pole in 2023. And Ji Zhang, as you said, that was quite a magical run. The fact that he was the first Chinese player to go this deep in Shanghai. Also, before this year, he had 6 appearances at this event, never winning a match, not even in
Mm.
the qualifying. But since there were 4 years since the last edition, I mean, we sort of knew that he made such progress that it's not really gonna better. And these conditions were great for him. I think anytime he gets like a fast court and heavy balls, that's really good for him.
Yeah.
Madrid, obviously, he was so good at. I think these sort of conditions are really perfect for the fact that he can just blast through anything anyway, and at the same time is just so aggressive too. And yeah, he played a great match against Hurkacz as well. So excited for the rematch. And next week, maybe let's just briefly, 5 minutes, talk about what's about to happen. We have the 500 in Tokyo, which we already sort of mentioned. I have to say that a couple of other beautiful first round matches other than Zhang and Hurkacz and Fritz Nori, which we already mentioned,
Mm.
are 4 a.m. tomorrow for me. The Minor Draper. I wonder if I can wake
Oh,
up for
4
that.
a.m. No.
Yeah, and for you as well. I mean, I wonder if I can wake up for that. Today you had to wake up at 5, right? So you actually sort of have, experience doing that already. And Draper the Minor, of course, that was a matchup at Wimbledon last year, which was okay. I think we expected slightly more from Jack there, but it was actually a pretty good match anyway. And also Vatanuki Ruud. That's an
Mm,
obvious highlight
mm,
of the
mm,
round as
mm,
well.
mm,
And
mm, mm.
and a match where Ruud is instantly in trouble as usual when Vatanuki plays a top seed. And
Yeah,
mhm,
Schwartzman kind of had a bit of a resurgence
yeah,
in Shanghai. Yeah, was one of the player I was still thinking about the players in
okay.
Shanghai, and that was one player that now came to my mind because I was thinking about who was playing in Tokyo.
Best week in
So
a
yeah,
while, right? Definitely.
yeah, in a
And
while,
sort of
first top 10 win since April 2022.
yeah, and exactly what he was hoping for when choosing that sort of
Mm,
scheduling path. When
yeah.
he decided to play the ATP events, don't go to South America and play the Clay Challengers, that's what he was hoping for, like a big run. It doesn't get him into the Australian Open yet, but if he can keep playing like that, maybe. I mean, he plays France
Mhm.
Rundolo in Tokyo first round. Maybe that's a possibility as well. And also, by the way, I forgot to mention that we talked about some dark horses in Shanghai 2 weeks ago, right? When we had the draw.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, and we actually mentioned Zhang, Hurkacz, not Maroshan, but Umber. Umber was also in the quarters. So,
yeah.
you guys know
Yeah,
who you
I
should be
was
listening
close.
to.
I was close to getting, to getting the Arnaldi run. I was talking about Arnaldi and Popiri.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a disappointing loss for sure. Like for a set and a half, it looked like he would just cruise to another win against Wolf.
Mhm.
And then there was a possibility as well, I guess, for Ronaldo to keep going, right? Maybe against Umber. I mean, I'm sure he would have done better than Wolf. Let's say
Mm.
that. It would have been hard to do worse than JG Wolf against Ugo Umber in the forefront. And yeah, there's also a couple of 250s in
Hmm.
Antwerp and Stockholm. So last year, the Stockholm final was Rune over Tsitsipas. Now they are both the top seeds. How is it possible? It's possible because
Yeah.
Tsitsipas has moved to Antwerp and Rune has stayed in Stockholm. Rune like significantly outranks the field in Stockholm, but of course with his issues recently, there's really no telling if he's going to win that. I think if it's not Rune, it's going to be very open. Maybe Manarino goes for another title, who knows, the second seed. And in Antwerp, we have a lot of excitement as well because Tsitsipas can
Yeah.
play Striker in the second round. That would
Hmm.
be a rematch for their
The US
for
Open
their
loss.
US Open. Yeah, second round, third round, second round. Oh,
Second round.
second round or third. Yeah, second
Hmm.
round. There's a lot of exciting young players as well, like Lyall and Nardi getting wildcards, which was quite surprising in a Belgian ATP 250, but also Fils, Maroshan. So lots to follow. Maybe Lennart Struff can get his first ATP Tour title.
Who
I'm
knows?
always
Yeah.
looking at it, but like his draw is pretty nice. He plays Rinderknecht Gaston, then potentially Gasquet, Borges, or Kepfer. So like to the semis, it's very open for him, I think, and even the other quarter in his
Yeah,
half is
we
pretty
have
open.
some of the highest ranked player without a title there. That's
Uh-huh.
also
Also who?
Davidovich Fokina.
Oh yeah, that's in
You,
that's in Stockholm, but
yeah,
yeah.
in Stockholm, yeah.
Yeah, I
Uh,
actually forgot that he doesn't have a title yet, and even this year, it feels like a very good season for him, and he only has one semi, right? A big semi, but still.
yeah, yes, right. The semi was in
Toronto,
yeah,
Toronto or
or
Montreal,
quarter.
Toronto.
Oh,
Yeah, Canada.
yes,
Was it that?
Against Deminor. Yes, the semi.
That wasn't a semi. Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah,
I
it
thought it
was in the
was.
semi.
Yeah. So there's also today, by the way, I have to mention a very exciting qualifying match in Antwerp between two Belgians, Alexander Bloks and Gilles
Yeah,
Nobay.
also quarter in Indian Wells.
Yeah. So if you want a glimpse for the future, watch Bailly against Blocks today, because Bailly was the runner-up at the
Hmm.
2022 Roland Garros Juniors and also the 2022 US Open Juniors, whereas Blocks won the Australian Open this year.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of recent Grand Slam junior success, and these two guys are actually going to play each other for in order to advance to the main draw of the
To the
ATP
main draw.
250 in Antwerp. So that's a pretty huge match. I do think that Blocks probably is the more promising player going forwards. He also had a shorter match yesterday, a more impressive win as well. So he is probably the
Yes.
favorite, but that's a bit of a chance to just catch a bit of a glimpse into the future for sure. And in general, the Belgians yesterday in the qualifying did very, very well. Anything else, really?
Yeah, since just a little weird to watch all these Belgian young guys in the qualies and then looking at the wildcards in the main
Yeah,
draw. But yeah, it's
some management deals for sure, right? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah, sure.
Zizou Bergs was also in the qualifying. I thought maybe he and Delors were gonna get the last wildcards, but apparently there are some deals there. I don't know if they can afford it really, right? I mean, Belgium is not a country with many top events. Like you
Hmm.
only have Antwerp, and on the challengers you only got Otinielu Von this year. I think it's the
Yes.
only Belgian challenger. So yeah, they shouldn't be pulling that off, but they are. But at the same time, if you just disregard nationality, Nardi and
Yeah, no,
Layal are
that's
very good picks, obviously. I mean,
yeah, yeah, no, that's sure.
yeah, super excited to watch Layal against Munar today. Feels like a winnable matchup indoors.
Hmm.
Why not? Then he could also play Fields in the second round, and Nardi is playing team, right? So,
Team.
so that's very winnable for Luka as well. Given how team played in Bratislava, and given his current state,
Yeah,
which
if
is
I'm not
probably
wrong, Nardi got the first main draw match ATP in Antwerp through a
uh,
wild card in 2020, if I'm not
oh,
wrong.
so he also had a wild card in Antwerp in 2020. That's
I'm
crazy.
sure that he played his first ATP match outside of Italy, and if I'm not wrong, it was in Antwerp,
Let me check that.
2020, if I'm not.
220 would be the Antwerp where Zizou Bergs killed everyone, right? But I mean, he just became the huge headline. So I don't remember Nardi, but you're right. He played against Marcos Giron. That's actually pretty wild that he has already played it twice with a wild card Antwerp. Um, but yeah, that's exactly what happened. Marcos Giron, and he actually took a set. I don't remember that at
Mhm.
all. He must have been like 17 back then. So,
Yeah.
and I think even 2021 was not a strong season for Nardi. So a little surprised by that. But of course, that's the sort of expectations that people had for him after the junior days. And he is getting there. He is getting there. Zizou Berg's on the screen roaring, but he actually lost in the qualifying
Lost.
yesterday to Tito Androge. I would have believed you if you told me that Zizou Bergs was going to be the only Belgian to win in the qualifying yesterday, but he was actually the only Belgian to lose
To
because,
lose. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, Blocks beat Medjedovic, big upset. Bailly beating Yamas Ruiz, maybe not so much, and also on Klen taking out Cressy. I thought that was a bit of a
Yes.
surprise as well. Max has been a little well since winning that first challenger when he came back and sort of making us think that he was going to do that on a regular basis. He actually still has a lot of work to do if he wants to be in the Australian Open main
Mhm.
draw automatically. He might fight for the Australian Open wildcard challenge, right, for the USDA as well, but we'll see about that. So yeah, any finishing thoughts?
Mm, Well, we'll just say that we have to enjoy a lot of tennis, it seems.
Yes, absolutely. Three ITP events. I think you've already had the WTA Weekly yesterday, but then there on that side of the world, you also have a couple of them in Monastir. Well, three of them as well: Nanchang, Monastir, and
Yes.
Cluj. John will be going to Monastir, as he already said in the chat. He also says that Tsitsipas is playing doubles in Antwerp, of course, with his best doubles partner Petros Tsitsipas. And yeah, let's see how they do against Reyes Varela and Vega Hernandez. Anyway, that's not what I'm going to be watching this week. Definitely not. I think
No,
I,
me neither.
I still haven't put on any tennis today. I think Tokyo probably will escape me, but I'm definitely catching Munar Layal that I know, and also that blocks Bai match that I mentioned as well.
Yeah, I watched the while I was having, after my early morning appointment. I watched the second
Uh-huh.
set of Zverev Thompson.
Okay. And what
Mm,
happened there? I'm curious because I actually don't know at all.
well, I think, as what I heard, that in the first set Thompson was playing incredibly good. Second set, what I watched, he was playing a good match, but Zverev didn't really look like himself, honestly, and he was
Mm-hmm.
struggling a lot with especially with his forehand. Was really struggling to hit deep, and even from the backhand side, I was expecting a lot more from him. And no, it was not just because of Thompson trying to mix things. It was superior also from the baseline today, and it was kind of surprising for me to watch.
Yeah, great win for Jordan Thompson, and I'm sorry, Alexander Zverev, but you lost your right to be called the top 5 level player due to Andrei Rublev actually probably emerging in front of you. So you have to stop losing in the first round, Alexander Zverev, if you want to get back up there.
This is the message for you.
Yes, I love Jordan Thompson's improvements over the last few years, but this is a match that if you want to be called a top 5 player, you kind of have to be winning. Anyway, that's gonna be it then. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys. Thank you to all the ones in the chat who commented. Even someone who said that one people viewed a minute ago. I don't know what it was about, but thank you to that person as well. And thank you, Mario, of course.
Yeah, thank you.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.